Hey guys and girls, welcome back to another exciting episode of All About You. It's been a while since I put up a deck profile or any content for that matter. But guys, I have something really spicy. This is going to be a deck profile from the Connecticut Regional. This just occurred this last weekend and you guys are going to have a blast because this deck has some spicy combos in it and it has a little spin from your traditional Frieza deck builds. All right, so as you guys know, this guy, he's the reboot version. His skill essentially is when he attacks, you draw a card, which is good, standard for most leaders. You could reduce the energy cost of one extra card that's yellow by 1. So that's very key. However, you can only do that once per turn. His awakening, you just draw 1, restand 1 energy. We go up to this guy. His backside is what makes him very good, but it also, you have to be very, very, very careful on how you use him. I see a lot of players killing themselves and not being able to secure game. So essentially, when he attacks, you draw a card, which is great. And then when you use an extra card, you can rest one of your opponent's cards, but it has to be a yellow extra card. Now, specifically, he allows you to play extra cards that are yellow with an energy cost of 2 or less for free. So it's different from the front side because the front side reduces the extra card. So if something costs 2, you could pay 1. If something costs 1, you could pay 0, essentially, as long as it's yellow. This side, if you have an energy cost of 3, you cannot pay 1. It doesn't reduce it by 2. It just allows you to play 2 or less. So again, just be very mindful of that. Now, we're going to go preview the yellow extra cards for now. We run 1 Cold Bloodlust, very standard, one of the best cards in the game. It's restricted to 1 for a reason. I could see this card actually going up to 2, considering that we know yellow is going to get hit soon. We just don't know exactly what's going to get hit. We'll take this away. We run 4, the Power of the Super Saiyan. So this card is one of the new additions. A lot of players are running it anywhere from 2 to 4 copies. I chose 4 because it is a very consistent card as far as what you need it to do, okay? So it has 2 effects. 1, it's a standard negate for 1 yellow or free without leader. And then now 2, he has the ability, active battle, to rest mode a unison, which is very good because we have no other cards in our deck that allows us to do that, or a battle card. Additionally, you draw 1 card. So you draw 1 card and you choose a target, which is very good. And the fact that you draw first allows you to kind of mitigate, okay, should I rest this? Should I rest that? This is like your first opening line of play. When you are already in a nice, or I won't even say nice, but when you are in a delicate situation, you always want to use this card first to see your options so you know exactly what you need to rest. There have been games where I drew into a super combo, which you guys are going to see the one that I run, and I decided, okay, I'm going to rest the unison because I already have other things to deal with the other cards. And then this triggers off our leader skill, so you typically rest 2 cards. We run 4, Final Flash. Final Flash is this deck's probably the best card for this deck, in my opinion, outside of U9 and outside of Bergamo. So this card gives you a 15k boost for the battle, which is one of the rare cards that do that. There's 1 for each color for the most part, but it's one of the best cards, if not the best one, in my opinion. During the battle, you can target one of your opponent's battle cards and ignoring barrier and negate their skill for the turn. So this card works in so many ways where you're able to really abuse your opponent. And then not only that, but then our leader, if that's the first extra card you played, first yellow extra card, you can then tap it. So let's say it had barrier and blocker, you can activate Vegeta's Final Flash, blanket the effect, and then now resolve the pending effect and put him in rest mode, which is very essential. And like I said, it's great because at some point during the game, you're going to just be using it from life to see more cards. We run 4, Universe 9. Now, this is obviously the strongest card in the deck, again, outside of Bergamo. It's kind of why a lot of people are saying, hey, this deck should get touched, which it should, but it should not get touched to the point of not being played. So this card allows you to draw 2 cards and then search your deck for a U9 battle card with energy cost of 2 or less if your opponent's fully tapped out, energy-wise. So this is very crucial because it just allows you to gain a lot of advantage in hand, and not only just gain advantage in hand, but it allows you to manipulate the game state of the board and get extra bodies. Now we're going to go through our 4 blue cards, the only mono blue cards we run, which is Bean. Now, we got people like Dale and Matt. Got to throw you out there. Bean is a very obvious choice. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you've seen Bean in a lot of deck lists, it's pretty obvious that it's a good card if you're going to run a blue variant of yellow. So, if you're running mono, obviously you're not going to run Bean. But if you are running yellow-blue, it's like you would only do that if you can run Bean, in my opinion. That's how I was playing it. I know there are other players that didn't use Bean, but it only makes sense. And I have to give out a shout out to my brother Eon because he was the first one to use it in most recent events or previous events, which was the Pro Play Tour Invitational. So before other players were using it in that way, he was the first one to do it, and he never even bragged about it because it's obvious. Now going to the battle cards, the yellow package. We ran 1 Swift Retaliation Cooler. I mean, it's our standard battering for 3 energy. It's pretty whack and pretty bad in my opinion, but we had it just to close games. And you draw a card when he's played, and if you have, I believe, 6 or more cards in rest mode from your side of the board, you can draw an additional card. He's a free body. Well, not free because he costs 3. But he's a body on board, and he gets to go through if you're going in for game. Now, this is the Slug package. We run 2 Lord Slugs, Evil Invader. He's very good. He's basically what allows us to make our power plays. When he comes into play, you draw a card, and then for 1 yellow, he has 2 effects. You can overlay him with energy cost of 3 or energy cost of 3, which is a Slug card. Or you can just tap down a card. Tap down a card, not energy, but specifically, I believe, a battle card. And that's it. So pretty standard. But people are running like 3 and 3. I run 4 of him because he searches. He can actually search for this bad boy. And additionally, for 1 energy, when he's in rest mode, bond 2. Your opponent cannot draw cards, search for cards, or anything of that nature outside of using their leader's skill. And he's 20k barrier. I mean, once you bring him out on board, it's very difficult to get rid of him. We run 2 Chappelle. Chappelle is basically a very good card. I was playing him at 3 at one point, but I decided to cut him down. And actually, when I first started testing the deck, I had him at 4. But what I decided to do with him instead is, because I'm running other cards that are similar, I decided to just cut him down a little bit. I do like that it forces opponents to play around him. A lot of people are like, hey, he's not as good as anymore because a lot of people already know how to play around him. That's kind of the point. Like, ladies and gentlemen, you want your opponent to try to play around your cards, period. Like, that's kind of what makes this deck strong. If you start running cards based off of, oh, people know how to play around it, it's really not going to be that effective. And the other card that people are playing instead of him, it's not as good as him. It's okay, at best. It's just used because it has multicolor, and you can actually get a healthy energy instead of an energy in rest mode. Going on to our 1-drop lineup, which is 3. I run 3 Basil, Fatal, Rampage. Now, a lot of people will probably be saying, why aren't you running 2, Anthony? There's going to be a reason later on in the deck profile, but you guys should already know when he comes into play, you draw a card, and if your opponent has 5 or more cards in rest mode, active main, you just essentially he gets dual attack, and he's a 19k beat stick, which is very good. 3, our Mecha Frieza, Respacito. I like calling him that. He is our negate. I actually ran him at 4 copies, but just for some space contingency plans, I decided to run 3. 3 was fine, you know. I feel better with 4, but 3 was fine. When you activate the card, when this card For one, if you have extra cards in your energy and or drop area, he gets reduced by 1 for each one. So being he can cost 1 at the very least, or at the very, basically very least. And when he comes into play, every time your opponent attacks with a non-unison, they have to tap a card. So it just basically ends their turn for 1 energy in most cases. It's very hard to get around him, so your opponent has to play him that way. But one of my matchups, which I'm going to discuss right now, was against King Cold, my daddy's boy. He doesn't do shit against him. Excuse my French, but your opponent could just rest field cards and just really janky stuff. So I'm just letting you guys know that he's not good against that matchup, as he probably shouldn't. I feel like King Cold should be better than his son in some ways, and that's one of the ways. Oh, and by the way, he comes into play. So he comes into play, so you get a body for 1 energy, essentially. We run 4. The GOAT. That's all I'm going to say. This guy is what makes the deck very strong. Without him, the deck kind of loses a lot of strength, and it might not be your first choice, being real. So anytime you rest one of your opponent's cards, you can use his effect. You pay 2 energy, 1 yellow, and 1 of anything. And he comes out to play, so he's a body on board. And he says rest up to 2 of your opponent's battle cards or energy, ignoring barrier. The fact that he ignores barrier is very strong, and the fact that he can rest your opponent's energy is very strong. So he's just a very good card overall. If Bandai did hit something, it would probably be this card. Being real, ladies and gentlemen. I don't even think U9 should get hit. It should just be this card. But this card, I would probably limit it to 1. I would leave it as an option for the deck to have it if you see it, but not at 4, where you could just continually abuse them and get a free body on board for 2 energy, essentially. 4 Bojacks. These are him. I'm proxying right now at the moment, so bear with me. This guy, he's became a very good staple. I mean, specific players were running him. I don't know who started running him first, so don't ask me. I haven't been playing this game too long, considering that I come back every now and then. But anyways, this guy, you can bring him out through a rival, just having a blue-yellow card or blue-yellow cards in the combo area. And active main, or active, basically active battle, you can chuck 1 card and draw and restand up to 2 energy. So it's a break-even card, but as long as it's a yellow-blue card. So if you have a yellow and a blue card, a blue battle card, then you could do that and you'll go -1 in hand. Or you could just chuck a blue-yellow and be in good shape. And he's a 20k barrier guy that comes out. I run 4 the Zamasu super combo. This is kind of what I was talking about earlier. So I decided to run that. I believe it's very good for this type of deck. A lot of players are running Krillin, and they're running the Go Tanks, I believe, or Go 10. Those are also okay options, but considering that we're dealing with a blue-yellow deck, I feel like that is the best card you could play. A lot of players already know how to play around Zamasu, but the fact is, again, what did I say, ladies and gentlemen? You want to force your opponent to play around your cards. That's the point. If they know you run this, they got to play around it. They have to say, all right, I got to attack with this guy, because if I don't, he's going to rest it. And that sometimes messes their sequencing. Sometimes it kind of thwarts any plans that they may have, okay? We run 2 of this new card. This is the other card that I ended up taking some Chappelles out for. It's good. It's just mainly for energy. I never decided to bring it out. The only time I would have is if, let's say, I was in a predicament where my opponent wasn't able to awaken and they were like a 10k leader, and I could get a free block and have them rest one of their cards for free, or I can draw since it's a blocker. What I like about this card is that typically when I would play U9 against certain opponents, I would bring him out, and then I would now on my turn, if I had this in my hand, I would charge. So I would have an active energy by having him out, and that allows me to play the cards that you saw, like Bean. Bean is just very good. So, and of course you could bring out this guy, but him too early, he doesn't do much, other than draws you a card. So, very good. I mean, okay at best. Now going on for the black package, slash the non-yellow package. We run this as a secret rare, self-explanatory. She's a 40k that can be brought out by turn 3. You could play it on your opponent's turn if you want to stop your opponent from attacking with a unison or battle card. P.S. No one ever attacks with battle cards first. So your unison or your opponent's leader card, sorry if I did say battle card, but your opponent's leader and unison, I've never been in a predicament where my opponent did not attack with a unison or a leader card, you know, so she doesn't help as much because it's not like she reduces that many attacks. And also you leave her open for your opponent to potentially kill her off with ways of negging her. My boy Jonathan during test playing violated and killed her off, and I was sad. But her main effect that you can do is pop her and blow up the board. And that's what's great. So she costs 1 energy coming in and 1 energy coming out. So that's very good because she touches unisons as well, which is pretty nasty. I'm going to talk about my matchups after this, but we're getting close to the end. To Putin, enough said. I think Eon Hill takes credit for this card. I'm not sure if he's the first, but I know he said he was, so we'll give him credit here. And she's just very good. She's very good for yellow. I mean, and if you have any deck that runs, you know, if your deck is based off of resting your opponent's cards, she's a must run. At least 1 copy, but I would go with 2 to be safe to see her. And P.S. she has barrier, and she comes out for free when one of your opponent's cards are rested. And then from the rest of the game, while she's on the board, anytime your opponent puts in play a battle card, you can rest it, essentially, or rest another card, which is very good. And it'll trigger a lot of other effects, like Bergamo and other cards such. Secret Identity Mass Saiyan, just our removal. One of the few removals in the game that yellow can run. That's generic when he comes into play. Over round 6, free, no energy. You can grab up to 6 costs of battle cards and warp them. I mean, so if your opponent has tokens, you warp them for free. If your opponent has any other cards on board, 6 or less, they get warped. It's good against Demigro when you play against black and other cards of that nature. We have 2 Double Strike Supreme Kais. I wish I had Champa. I would have ran Champa instead. But this card, just as good. You just got to remember to say Double Strike. It's your Double Strike for the deck. And then last but not least, we have our Techie card. We have Belmod, Double Devastation. So a lot of people were asking me, like, whoa, Anthony, you're playing that? Like, I surprised a person in the tournament, and they were, like, really screwed because they were just wondering, like, whoa, like, he runs this card? That, like, threw me off. You know, they just threw them off. So actually, round 3, I played one of my buddies from Long Island. He actually brought out the Kai on my turn. So he brought out this bad girl. Where is she? He brought out her. He actually prevented one of my attacks, which I think was my leader swing. It could have been my leader swing, if I'm not mistaken. So he did stop something at some point because I attacked with Lord Slug. And then during that battle, I believe he played her. Lord Slug is always usually the person you want to attack with first so that your opponent can't draw cards. He was playing King Piccolo. So when he did that, I kept doing what I had to do. But what I did was I blanketed her effect. So I blanketed her effect, and I believe I final flashed them. And I stopped her from having an effect, and I rest moded something else. And so he had her in rest mode on his turn. And then on my turn, I was like, okay, bet. Now we're gonna, oh, wait, sorry. Actually, no, I said that wrong. He did that during my turn. So it was still my turn. So I kept attacking him and doing what I had to do. And then I brought out Belmont and I popped her. And he looked at me and he was like, wow, I can't believe that happened. I didn't think anyone would run that card in Frieza. And yeah, he thought he was safe because all the Frieza lists, none of them ran him. So now you guys have some spice that you can play around with. He's very good. So a little typical combo I do. During my matches, I did some really nasty stuff where, like, I played him, was able to use his effect, draw my card, activate main, swing out, attach some beams to him, whatever the case may be, open up energy, whatever I wanted to do, swing out. And let's say I already had, my field usually comprised of this, just to give you guys a little preview. This was my board on the average. My board was like this. Who else? One of these or this girl. So it was either maybe him. I don't think I ever had both of them out at the same time, but I either had him or I had the multicolored 2-drop, which I just kind of lost. Oh, there she goes. So I had either 1 or 2, and that was like my board for the most part, and like maybe one Frieza in board. So I got all my attacks in, and then afterwards I would Belmont, sack one of these, typically, or one of those. They would go to their respective, drop area. I popped something if they had anything, and then I would swing, do what I had to do, putting a lot of pressure, getting my opponent down to that lovely 2 life, and then I would play another one, U9, play this, draw a card, swing out again, and my opponent would look at me and be like, wait a minute, so did you just do that to me? Did you just pop one of my guys, got rid of a guy that is unique, and then brought him out again? And I was like, yeah, I'm sorry, man. Sorry, sucks to be you. And that was it. So I did a lot of nasty combos. There was one that I did double Belmonts in a turn. I don't want to even talk about that one. That one was very savage. But yeah, that was basically the gist of things. So overall, guys, I had 5 rounds for the Connecticut event. I went undefeated. I 2-0'd every opponent except for my last opponent, which was Joey. Joey actually, we got put to the side. We were the organizer, or one of the guys who, runs the store. He pulled us to the side. I was like, uh-oh, here we go. About to get banned for I don't even know why. Maybe it's an advanced ban. Who knows? But long story short, he just asked us. He was like, he wanted to know if we had our invites. I thought I might have had mine because I went to the PBG events, but unfortunately I didn't. So what ended up going down is that Joey had his invite. Joey had his invite early on in the year, and I didn't. So the guy was like, hey, if any one of you guys want to concede, you're more than welcome to do that. If you want to try to pass down invites, I can't guarantee if you guys play it out and it ends up becoming a draw. We know how Frieza plays out. There was a good high likelihood of either us getting a draw or, realistically speaking, me winning. But Joey was, a very, very good sportsmanship, and he just said, he's like, you don't have your invite, just take it. And I was very grateful for that. So thank you, Joey. Shout out to Crossworlds TCG. And yeah, that was it. So that was my freebie. Since a lot of people I noticed started to talk a little trash online as usual, as per usual. But all my other matches I 2-0'd, except for, again, Joey. So round 1, I played against King Cold. The King Cold player, he had an idea what his deck did. I really didn't. So like I said, I used this guy, and I was really in for a shocker when I started seeing him rest his field cards and stuff. The games were good. There was a point where he popped my SCR, which Eon was dying. So I basically brought out my SCR, and it was really bad because it's like I brought her out. I went to get value, so I was like, okay, I'm going to attack his leader, get free value. He had no blockers up, and he ended up actually using his green SCR, which was the ape, and he popped her. So I lost my SCR for him losing his, and let's just say I lost out more than he did because he had a board with his Unison and some guys that she would have been able to touch. And then I was able to still win because I was still ahead of him in the game. Round 2, I played against Dark Broly. That person knew how to play Dark Broly well. He said that he played against the Frieza matchup a lot, so he felt comfortable against me, but he said that it's not the worst matchup for him, but it's still rough depending on how I play. And I ended up shotgunning him. There was a point where he power burst, and I was like, okay, he took his life and whatnot. And then before when I was getting ready to attack with my second battle card, I noticed that he only had 2 cards in his drop. So we had to rewind that, and we fixed the game state. It was cool. And I shotgunned him, and he lost. I went up to like close to 100K. And then round 2, I just won. It was very difficult to say how I won. I brought out like my Vegeta Unison, which is in my sideboard, which I'm going to show you guys very momentarily. And yeah, it was just a hard game for him because he had so many guys on board, but he really couldn't attack with them. Then round 3, I played against my boy from Long Island. We had good games. Round 1, first game took like, I want to say it took like almost damn near 40 minutes. Took over 30 for sure. And then with sideboarding, we had less than 20 minutes with sideboarding included. And so we had to try to play fast. Now, we went into time. My boy was afraid of losing in time because we were getting close. So there was a few play errors, I believe, that he made. But, you would have to ask him more so on it. And I ended up closing the game, towards the end. So, like, right when time was going to be finished, I ended up closing the game. And we just wanted to see the finished results. So he knew at least he was going to get 2-0'd, and that was good. Good at least for him to know that, so that he wouldn't feel like he had a chance of winning. Then round 4, I played against our boy Chad. Good games. He was playing Mecha Cabora. I never played against that leader. I didn't know what any of his cards did. But great sport. We played a while back. He actually took a W on me in game 3. But this time I was able to 2-0 him, so some revenge. But now we even. So we're going to see what happens when we play again. Make a tiebreaker, right? But anyways, both games just were in my favor. It's hard because I hit him with Bergamo. I hit him with a lot of stuff. Game 2, he had Black Mask. I almost made the mistake of putting Putin in, and I was like, wait, let me just read this again, because it's been a while since I used that card, since I haven't been playing often, and I was like, oh, looks like she ain't coming in. And that was that. I still ended up winning because of he didn't have much. I kept hitting him with a battle nutrition, essentially. So he went down to damn near 0 cards before I won. And then Joey Palladino was my last opponent. And I guess I already told you guys that. So I ended up winning first place, undefeated, 2-0 all my opponents except for Joey. And that was it. So now we're going to go to the sideboard. I'm not going to talk too much about that since this video is dragging. One Planet Vegeta, we only used it to search our Saiyans, which would be 2 Son Goku, annihilators, essentially. You guys should know what he does. Your opponent has to tap a card to use an extra card if, they meet the requirements. So anytime your opponent wants to use an extra card, they have to tap 1 energy as a cost. This guy, he's your old, he's the old striving to be the best card. When he comes into play, he can KO a barrier card in rest mode. So that's a good card against Slug. It's a good card against the Bojack if the Bojack attacks you, this guy. Anyone that has barrier, essentially. But he can only pop barrier, guys. So if your opponent has this in rest mode, he can't do nothing. Because it specifically says target a barrier guy, ignoring barrier. So you got a lot of barrier in that text. We have 2 of these. Again, I'm showing you all the Planet Vegeta searchables. That's mainly for weenies. Anyone that had anything to stop me from restanding, like counter the little guys, Black Mass Saiyan, stuff of that nature. But I would only side it in, which I never did. I would have only sided against an opponent that had a lot of annoying nuisance, like anything that was very annoying. 2 Vegeta Unisons. I didn't expect Dark Broly, but I played it in round 2. But the deck is still strong enough to hold off, in my opinion. But it is rough. Game 1 was our tougher game. Game 2, I believe it was more so of a blowout, in my opinion. I ran 2 of these. Very good. I used it against someone's Topo. When they play Topo, they tap 2. And I was able to tap that ass by playing Tyrannical Blow. And I hit another card on their board, which was sweet. It's always sweet to get a 2-for-1 special. We played 1 Bardock Fully Unleashed. He is good for Dark Broly. He's good for Sin Shenron. Any deck that spams huge guys early on. And then Deborah, which Deborah was cool. Thank you, Miguel, for letting me have 2. He let me keep 2 of his cards. Very good. If I played against hand control, it's plus. You get a free body for the cost of 1 energy and you draw 2 cards. So if you thought Ape was good, Deborah makes Ape look like crap. And I'm talking about the draw 2, tap 2, Ape. But guys, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this deck profile. I know it's a little long. I wanted to give you guys some meat so you had an understanding of my matchups and essentially what went on. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment section below. As always, this channel is all about you.